Hi, Nicole. Hey, easily distracted. Hi, Joe. Hi, Davida. You didn't? Well, how'd you show up here then, lady? Or did you mean I didn't personally notify you? I didn't give you your purse. You were just checking? Hey, Laura Lynn. How's it going? Slam RN. There you are. We haven't seen you for a while. Howdy. Hey, Denise Cormier. Love your glasses. Are they new? Didn't any of you really? You were just checking and you saw or popped up, whatever? That's weird. That is really weird. Well, thank you for just checking. I appreciate it. Yeah, a perfect timing, Davita. Perfect timing. Well, we're going to get started here in a few minutes. Couple of minutes. Couple of minutes. Got a notification, but not an early one. Okay. I'm gonna shut the camera off and readjust my. Whoops! I kept the mic, shut the microphone off, and kept the camera on. Oh well. Shows you I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Hope this doesn't fall over. There we go. Hey, Peridot. I don't like it being down real low. Hi, Moo. And let me know if, as usual, I know, Nicole. And I was talking away. I thought I shut the camera off, but I didn't. I shut the mic off and I was talking. Let me know if Mama June goes live. Okay. Mama June goes live and you get a notified and let me know and we'll head over there. Paradise. Okay. Thank you, Peridot. It's always my birthday when you see me, isn't it? First, we're going to start out with a haunted highway one. And then we're going to open up a brand new Old Days. Looks like they're talking about weddings. It's for May and June. For Mama June. Okay. Denise, confused you for a minute. Okay. Okay, we did watch the Haunted Highway, watch it. We read it, right? And then I took off and we went down the haunted road that didn't look too haunted to me anymore. And it was raining here yesterday and snow. And then, so I didn't go to Michael Jackson's. Today was cloudy and chilly, so didn't go to Michael Jackson's house. But we're going to be doing that. I can't believe I'm almost done with this book. What? Okay, Children on the Tracks we read. The Ghost Lights. I don't think we read this. The flat land of West Texas spread out under a canvas of stars. 10 miles from the closest town, a solitary visitor peered up into the inky sky. He watched and waited alone in the dark. It had taken him forever to get this far. Was it worth it? Would the celebrated ghost lights materialize for him that night? There they are, standing on the side of Highway 90 outside Marfa, Texas. Ben could see reddish yellow orbs rise from the prairie flats. They were far off to the southwest, out in the direction of Chinati, China with a T-I. We're just going to say China Peak. Since I am from China, and I've found out some of my ancestry, I was stolen from my birth parents. Some nights, especially around Labor Day, when the town held its annual Marfa Lights Festival, this place was swarming with people hoping to catch a glimpse of the baffling orbs. But tonight, remarkably, he was alone. Hello, John. Ben was lucky. The Marfa lights didn't appear every night, but there they were, clusters of glowing orbs, floating maybe 5 feet above the desert floor. As he stared, entranced, the balls of shimmering light moved horizontally along the ground. Then suddenly they separated and shot in different directions. From where Ben was on Mitchell Flat, it was hard to judge their size, since there was no real frame of reference out there. Most of the globes seemed about the size of basketballs, but they were at such a distance they could even have been 10 feet or more in diameter. He watched, spellbound, as the sparkling spheres grouped into pairs or merged, only to break apart again. For a time, they'd grow brightly, then fade almost into nothing. Some would suddenly vanish, only to reappear a few moments later. The viewing stand where Ben stood was 9 miles east of Marfa, about a third of a way to Alpine. It hadn't been easy to get there. The nearest major airport was in El Paso, 200 miles to the west. Then it was a seemingly endless drive across the deserted high Chihuahuan Desert Plateau until he reached Marfa. The town wasn't known just for the mystery lights, of course. In 1955, the classic movie Giant, starring Rock Hudson, Elizabeth Taylor, and James Dean, the subject of his own ghost story, was shot there. More recently, There Will Be Blood was filmed in and around Marfa, but the town's origin was much more humble. Founded as a water stop for the Southern Pacific Railroad in the 1880s, Marfa has always depended on cattle and farming. During World War II, a military base was established there to train the Army Air Corps pilots. In fact, the viewing stand from which Ben was watching the ghost lights was very close to the old base at Fort Russell, which had closed in 1945. Hello, Marco. Marfa was also a gateway to Big Bend National Park, located along the Rio Grande, about 100 miles south. But with each passing year, the fame of the Marfa lights brought more and more tourists interested in the supernatural to the small town. Ben had researched as much as he could about the lights before he arrived. Supposedly, wagon trains had seen odd, unexplainable lights along the Chihuahua Trail, heading into the Big Bend area in the 1840s. But there were so many unfriendly Apache Indians there that no one dared leave the path to investigate. The first written report of a sighting north of the Rio Grande dates back to 1883. A young ranch hand named Robert Reed Ellison was driving his cattle about 8 miles west from Alpine toward the Paisano Pass when he saw glistening lights far ahead. He assumed at the time that he was seeing the campfires of Apaches, but when he and his friends checked out the area the next morning, they couldn't find any evidence of anyone having recently camped, or even traveled through the area. Over the next several years, more and more cowboys caught sight of the ghost lights all along the high desert and up into the Chinati Mountains between Marfa and Presidio. As Marfa grew, especially in the first decades of the 20th century, hundreds of Presidio County residents saw them. The lights appeared throughout the year. Hello, Billy Boy Blue. Yes, a lot of crazy news today, Peridot. And I was watching Johnny Depp today on the stand. Let's see. The lights appeared throughout the year in all sorts of weather conditions. As tempted as Ben was to take his four-wheel drive out across the flats to try to get closer to the orbs, he knew how reckless that would be. The terrain was unpredictable, and at night, with only 2 headlights cutting through the pitch darkness, chances were good that he'd fall into a gully, hit a boulder, or break an axle. Besides, these days everything for miles around was private property, and the owners could get pretty disagreeable if people wandered out there without their permission. Get this off of here. Hi, Nana Patty. Let's see. The local ranchers had gotten tired of trespassers, which is why, at their request, the Texas Highway Department had built the viewing stand. Over the years, many people had ventured across the desert at night, both by land and air, trying to capture or at least get close to the Marfa lights, and the glowing orbs had been photographed and filmed on numerous occasions. In the end, all the scientific studies resulted in the usual explanations for that kind of phenomenon: swamp gas, even though there hasn't been swampland in the dry deserts of West Texas in recorded history; phosphorescent rocks, ball lightning, air traffic, mirages caused by temperature variations, static emissions from quartz on the ground, and reflections from far away but unseen light sources, such as flashlights or headlights from cars over on Highway 67. Has anyone heard of the Marfa lights in Texas? Hello, Barb Olson. And hi, anyone in the watching on the replay. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the stories. I don't like these glasses, but these are the only ones Dollar General had. My other ones broke. These make me look like a granny. Regardless of what others thought caused the Marfa lights, Ben preferred the old Native American legends. His favorite claimed that the light is really the ghost of the great Apache chief Alsate, who was denied entrance into the afterlife after somehow offending the Great Spirit. His specter was said to haunt the Chizos Mountains in the heart of Big Bend National Park. In fact, one translation of Los Chizos is the ghost. Many think the lights seen outside Marfa are from the great chief spirit, simply wandering farther afield. All right, thought Ben, maybe it's all hogwash, but the folklore does have some basis in fact. Back in the 1850s and 1860s, the Mescalero Apaches hid in the Chizos Mountains while raiding small Spanish villages south of the Rio Grande. Among the Mescalero, also called the Chinati and Rio Grande Apaches, was the great leader Chief Alsate. Eventually, a detachment of mounted police from Mexico, known as the Ruralese, managed to capture Alsate along with his tribe, and they were taken to Mexico City for trial. Through the help of a relative, all of the Apache were set free, and they made their way back to the Chizos. But the tribe soon fell back into robbing the border towns, and when the Rurals captured them again, they were taken to Presidio, one of the villages they had been looting. I like that name, Presidio. Really, Barb, you had a whole foot of snow today. You can't get your back door open? You've heard of them, Nicole? Okay. Alsate was executed by firing squad, and the rest of the tribe was separated and sold into slavery. Soon after, glowing lights began appearing in the Chizos Mountains and on the mesas along Big Bend. Almost immediately, the luminous orbs were associated with the recent death of Alsate, and the legend arose that the shimmering spheres were the incarnation of the chief's ghost. Ben kept watch all night. The last of the lights had flickered out long before, and he knew that dawn was just over the horizon. Exhausted after his long drive from El Paso and the night-long vigil, he was ready to return to the welcoming motel bed waiting for him back in Marfa. His lifelong dream to see the ghost lights had been fulfilled. He was content. You live in Western Canada. Wow. Okay. You haven't seen any snow for a month or so? Okay, we're going to move along right now to the past. You never know, one of your relatives might be writing a story in here. It's a brand new magazine. A brand new one. Ew. Ah, fiddlehead ferns. We've got a publisher's clearinghouse. Remember those guys? That's okay, Peridot. Talk away. Hey, Element. Enjoy yourself. Talk about whatever you want. Clothes. See, one of them days where the hair's all flat. It's okay. Going to the chapel. Wedding wonders and woes. Song and dance are musical memories. White lies and cover-ups. If only they knew. Okay, we're going to read The Luckiest Fool. Bad weather and a baffled groom couldn't dampen their big day by W. Dean Marple. A June day, two young people in love in a little country church surrounded by cornfields, hoping to make Davida cry. Remember? These stories try to get you to cry, Davida, with these old stories. I don't know if this is one that'll do it or not. I have no idea. I haven't read it. With a setting like that, what could possibly ruin the wedding ceremony? The weather and a groom who had no idea what he was doing to start. Anyone attending our 1974 wedding must have thought the marriage was doomed before it had begun. A few days before the ceremony, a tornado came within a half-mile of our wedding site, St. John's, a small church near Reynolds, Illinois. Farm buildings were smashed. Combines were crumpled into balls of dull yellow and green, and rain. Days of rain followed. The high humidity was not kind to hairdos or wedding cakes. My bride was so proud of the multi-tiered wedding cake that she had baked and decorated herself. Wow. A talented wife. After the rehearsal, the evening before the wedding, Karen took me by the hand and assured me that it was the most beautiful cake ever as we strolled to the parish hall to see it. She walked into the hall smiling, but ran out sobbing. Behind her was a mountain of cake and icing that had collapsed in the humidity. One side of the cake was on the floor, one of the support legs having given out. The buttercream icing looked more like half-melted whipped cream smeared across the polished wooden floor. Oh, that's not good. With the wedding less than 24 hours away, Karen spent the night getting the cake back in shape. She would never admit it, but I suspect There were also a few choice words baked in. It was not an auspicious beginning, but it would only get worse when the wedding ceremony began the next day. Karen came from a religious family that attended church every Sunday. Baptized at St. John's, she was a lifetime member who knew every Episcopalian ritual and ceremony by heart. Me, not so much. I thought a wedding ceremony consisted of a few words from the minister saying, "I do," and that was that. Apparently, I wasn't listening too closely during rehearsal. On the big day, those in attendance at the church were supposed to greet each other by sharing the peace. I took this opportunity to walk to the side, pick up a small loaf of bread, and give it to the priest for the communion that followed, as I believed I was supposed to do. As was forcefully explained to me later, I was mistaken. The correct procedure required that the bride and I share a kiss at this point, not at the end, as I had assumed. Just as my lovely bride puckered up, I turned my back on her and started to retrieve the bread. Oh gosh, here's a picture of the wedding couple that day in 1974. Let's see. "Kiss me," she said, grabbing my arm. "What? You're supposed to kiss me now," Karen whispered a little louder. "Huh?" was my brilliant response. Everyone, well, almost everyone, got a good laugh out of that. Unfortunately, our troubles were not over. I whispered to me. I was now thoroughly confused, and Karen had a death grip on my hand. I didn't know what was supposed to happen next, but of course she did. "Hello, Alicia." My boo, my foster daughter. At the correct time, she turned to get the communion bread, pulling me along behind her. That presented a problem. I was now slightly behind her and trying desperately not to step on the train of her wedding dress. It must have looked like some comedy dance routine. In my defense, however, I'm proud to say I wasn't the only one who made a mistake that day. The priest, seeing a full church and expecting everyone to take communion, blessed a large amount of wine. A very large amount of wine. "Hi, Jackie." He didn't realize that most of the guests were not Episcopalians, guests who thought communion was for church members only. When he invited everyone to come forward for communion, no more than 24 did so, leaving 80% of the guests seated. My bride and I knelt, and he raised the chalice filled to the brim with wine. "Keep drinking," he pleaded. "Go on, keep drinking," he coaxed. "I have to drink any wine that's left." He kept tipping, and the wine kept coming. We drank and drank, but not nearly as much as the poor priest did at the end of the ceremony. Let's just say he was very relaxed at the reception. They say God looks after children and fools. I must fit in one of those categories because we finally made it through the ceremony, husband and wife to heaven to hold. Now we just had to figure out how to get Karen and her beautiful dress to the reception. The sidewalk between the church steps and the parish hall was nearly invisible in the pounding rain, and every woman in the bridal party had made it abundantly clear that the bridal gown was not to get wet. Never underestimate the power of a group of women. Boy, isn't that the truth? They detached the train. One of the girls gathered up Karen's dress in the back, and Karen took hold of the front. Someone found a large garbage bag to throw over her head and shoulders, and then all surrounded her with umbrellas. Off they went, laughing and giggling as they scurried down the sidewalk. The rain couldn't dampen what turned out to be a wonderful reception. There was no band, no DJ, no lavish meal. There was just coffee and punch and cake and ice cream. But what we did have were friends and family we'd known since childhood. Everyone talking and laughing, mothers oohing and eyeing over the newest babies, and husbands discussing the price of corn. I got a lot of good natured kidding, and Karen received many compliments on her dress and the cake. After a couple of hours, the rain let up and we slipped away to begin our honeymoon. Today, as we edge closer to our golden wedding anniversary, we're blessed with 3 children and 7 grandchildren. I do believe that saying about God looking after children and fools is correct. After all, I'm the luckiest fool alive. Here's her cake, guys. She stayed up all night to fix the wedding cake and created this masterpiece. Wow, she did pretty good too. Look at that. Davita. It's pretty good though, right? Pretty good looking cake. I wonder if she kept making cakes for weddings after that. What do you think? Now here's an old going back. The Only Musician, it's called. His musical talent was unmatched by Loretta Zinski. Hi, One Eye, Blind. Yeah, Alicia. That's how they used to make the cakes back when I was getting married. When I got married the first time, that's how we, had all those different layers like that. Let's see. This is a little story, I guess, about her musical grandfather or something, or father. And here's a picture. Loretta, fourth from the left, and her family sit on their front porch in the 1940s. Look at that, guys. Look at that family. Wonder what happened to all of them. If they had good lives, or I always wonder what's each story. And here's Loretta's father, who we're going to read about. Um, well, the man with the hat is smiling. The mom isn't. And I don't know if that's the mom's sister or grandma or what. But the guy is, look at the man. He's smiling. He's got a little smile going. It must be her father. I don't know, right? I guess. My father and mother emigrated from Poland to the United States in the late 1890s. They both worked in factories, saved their paychecks religiously, and then bought a small farm near Suffolk, Connecticut. That was where I started my musical education. No, it's not David Ray's family. Every spring, hi Tammy. Every spring, my father got out his plow, hitched it up to an old horse named Nellie. Why isn't it named Shorty, Alicia? Yes, I had Martha. That was when I was in StreamYards. I can't change it on here. This is regular YouTube, but I can put my name on StreamYards, and I have, my name is Martha. Um, every spring, my father got out. Oh, I already read that. Plowed the field to plant corn for the few cows that we had. As my father plowed a furrow, our little white dog would parade behind him, and I would parade behind the dog. As he went along, my father would sing the Catholic Mass, church Mass in Latin. He had learned to sing it when he was in school in Poland, and he had completely memorized it from the first blessing to the last. His beautiful masculine voice was music to my ears. My father's greatest wish in life was to have a musician in the family. No, he doesn't, Alicia, you're right. His prayers were answered when my brother came home from school one day with a note informing our parents that a music instructor was giving violin lessons during a free period to any student who wanted them. My father didn't even consult my brother about it. He just signed the paper and sent it back with my brother the next day. My brother's first lesson was to bring the violin home and get acquainted with it. How you get acquainted with a violin, I don't know. All I know was that he took it to school the next day and we never saw it again. I guess the relationship did not work out. My father wasn't the type to give up easily on a dream. When a notice from school came the following year that a female violin instructor was going to teach the violin, my father signed me up immediately. I took lessons for 2 years. It wasn't that I loved the violin that much, it was because I loved my father more. Aw, Davita's going to cry about this one. I even joined the school orchestra and endured the humiliation of the band leader, waving her baton with her right hand and grabbing my fingers one by one with her left hand to place them in the right positions on the violin strings. I did not return the violin like my brother did. Instead, the violin teacher and the orchestra leader both quit teaching at the same time, and I got to keep the violin. Then one day, a catastrophic incident between my mother and me put an end to my career with the violin. While she was putting some wet clothes through the wringer of the old washing machine and I was practicing, she yelled, "Lorraine, the cows in the barn are lonely. Why don't you play for them for a while?" I took the hint, packed up my violin, and put it in my closet, where it remained for many years. My mother never mentioned the incident again, and my father never questioned why I gave up the violin. My mother must have started to feel guilty about what she had done to me because she began singing around the house when my father, brother, and I were around. The only problem was that she only knew the words to one song, "Oh Danny Boy," and she could not sing one note on key. She sang it for 1 week and then suddenly she gave it up. Thank goodness. Our quote unquote musical family went into hibernation for quite a few years. It was rejuvenated one day in church, much to the consternation of my brother's children and wife. He decided to join the congregation in singing. Lo and behold, we couldn't believe that he had inherited my mother's singing voice, and he kept it hidden from us all those years. When his children lined up to shake the priest's hand as they left, they begged him to suggest to their father that he should stop singing during Mass. The priest smiled and asked why. He's only giving God back the gift that he bestowed on him. Then he raised his right hand to his ear, looked up to heaven, and added, "I don't hear God complaining." They took the hint and stopped complaining also. I always felt sorry for my dad. He never realized that he was the chosen one to be the only musician in our family. He had a wonderful singing voice, but only our dog, the birds, and animals, God and I heard him, singing in the field as he went about his daily work. This is Miss Pearl's Beauty Shop. Here's a picture of little Anita with her first perm. And here's Anita's mother, Miss Pearl. She was a talented hairdresser, storyteller, and artist. That's her with the little girl with her first perm. She looks happy. There's her mama. Is Mama June in here yet? She's not happy about it, is she? Mama June. Mama June ramblings. You love those black and white photos, Tammy? This is by Anita Alcorn. Some of my fondest memories are the hours spent in my mother's beauty shop in Calhoun City, Mississippi in the 1930s and 1940s. Before this, Miss Pearl, as mother was known to everyone, had opened a beauty shop in Pittsboro, Mississippi in 1946. That's where she first used the Marcel iron, a special curling iron named for Marcel Grateau, a French hairdresser. The Marcel iron made a wave with a deep groove. Mother said she heated the iron on a coal oil lamp and wiped off the soot with a towel. Then she would apply it to a section of hair for a second, let go, and repeat the process. Miss Pearl also did finger waves, since the short cut, or bob, came in with a bang in the 1920s. Hello, Tara Courtney. I bet they did. After that, she took the train 150 miles from Pittsboro to Memphis, Tennessee, where she learned how to give electric permanent waves. The first wave was called a spiral. With the beauty course, Mother was given a kit with 8 heaters. Can you believe that only 8 curls could be heated at a time? A spiral wave cost about $20, a lot of money in those days. Mother told me about having no electricity in her first shop. When I was lucky enough to get a paying customer, I had to take her to my brother's house. He not only had electricity, but also a radio. You know Mama June ramblings. Nicole, our favorite. I'm sure Mother's customer was very impressed. They must have been very tired too, because a perm took 12 to 15 hours. Can you believe that? 12 to 15 hours for a perm? Her shop didn't have running water either. Instead, there was a rain barrel just outside the back door. Mother hired a young boy to haul the buckets of water she used to shampoo her hair. When I was about 8 years old, Mother gave me the spiral kit to play with. It was in a wonderful little suitcase. I had many hours of fun giving my doll permanent waves. I don't know if that's the end of it or probably. No, it's not. My own hair was baby fine in texture and often stood on end. Mother was always trying to do something with it. She could hardly wait until I was old enough for a perm. By the middle of the 1930s, the permanent wave technique had been much improved. Now, the long-suffering customer didn't have to endure much besides paying $1 or a frying chicken or a couple dozen eggs for the perm. In 1937, Mother gave me my first of many Quinol perms. Caroline Conner, if you're listening, maybe you know how to pronounce that. Because you probably learned about this stuff in beautician school, I would think. Since I was the type who ran off when I saw a comb or brush coming, it must have been a great undertaking for mother and the shop owner, Mrs. Johnson, to give me curls. What patience those two hairdressers had with children. First, they had to roll up my hair using pads to protect my head from the heat. A clip was then put between the pad and the roller. Next, the hair was rolled onto metal rollers. Mother took a thing like a screwdriver and tightened each roller. When I yelled, Mother would loosen the offending roller a bit. I can still feel the pain when I think about it, and the weight of it all, too. I was then hooked up to a machine, and the heat was turned on. I can still smell that steam. That's when the fun started. Mrs. Johnson would fan the heat and steam away from my face. She would fan the heat and steam away from my face with a cardboard fan from Pryor Funeral Home. Mother got out her drawing pad, ready to entertain me or whatever kid was hooked up to the heat machine. Mother always told the same story and drew pictures along with it. That way it kept us entertained throughout the process. In the folk story, a snake dressed in a top hat offered to watch over the baby partridges while their mother went to the market. When the mother partridge went back to the nest because she forgot something, she found the snake trying to eat her babies. Quickly, she beat the snake over the head with her parasol and saved the babies. While Mother told the story, she drew the high grass with the nest and babies, and she sketched in the long road to the store. Then she would draw the mother partridge beating the snake to save the babies. By the time Mother had finished the story, the heat was turned off and the ordeal was over. Other kids loved that story, as did I. I must have heard it 100 times during those many special hours with Mother in the beauty shop. That's the end of that one. This is that one too. Remember where you got to find that candy stick? I remember Mom. Don't you remember Mama June? Who was looking all through here? I message her. See what she's doing. I'm just writing, come over, please. Should be saying, what are you talking about? Come over. Aww. In Granny's care, Davita. Hi, easily distracted. I don't know if I said hi again. Did you easily distracted? I'd never had one ever. My hair was always wavy and had curl. I never needed one, believe it or not. This is by Jack Anthony Polino. And look how cute the little guy is with his granny. Hi, Larky. Said he's about 2 years old there. I bet she did look like a little orphan Annie. The earliest thing that I can remember, this is by, I already said it was by Jack Anthony Polino. is being cared for by my great grandmother, Albina. I stayed with her every day while my mother worked. This went on in the 1960s, from my birth to the time, bless you, from the time I began kindergarten in Waterbury, Connecticut. Hello, Tracy B. I had no toys at Granny's house. If Granny was hanging out laundry, then I played with clothespins. If Granny was crocheting, then I twisted up my own ball of yarn into knots. But I had the most fun when Granny worked in the garden. There I had my own little shovel and my own little hole to dig in. Granny was an Italian immigrant, and she had just enough of an accent to fascinate me. Granny spoke in a dialect that she mostly invented herself. For instance, if I was getting into mischief, which I usually was, Granny would raise her outstretched hand in the air and threaten to give me a pack, a slap. I got that threat almost every day, but I don't recall ever actually receiving the pack. If it was time to take a nap, I was told it was time to go knee now. Remember when I would tell you that, Alicia? Tell you to go knee now. And you would go, no, no. And I'd have to give you a pack. Remember? Hi, Helen. She was crazy, guys. I'm telling you. That Alicia. After learning some Italian later in life, I surmised that Granny's Nina was derived from the Italian words Nina Nana, which translates lullaby. Granny's house was like a museum. It contained wonderful artifacts from several decades. On her front stoop, there was a milk box. A remnant from a time when milk was delivered. Granny sewed on an antique black Singer. She sewed on an antique black Singer sewing machine with a gold decal of the Sphinx emblazoned across the upper right side of the arm. I bet Sharon knows about that. The machine was converted from its original treadle power to electric power via a small motor installed on the back with a belt attached to the hand wheel. In the cavity of the machine's cabinet were two industrial-size spools of thread, one black and one white, most likely sourced from the underground factory where Granny had once worked. These spools were too big to fit on the machine's spindle, so they were placed on the floor and threaded through the series of tension pulleys on the machine. Granny activated the machine using a knee lever, and whatever garment I had torn that day would get repaired. I'm not getting a message back. You lost your short memory. I look like I'm from China right now with these glasses and everything. I'm starting to look like I really came from China. My heritage is showing. Let's see. Granny had one telephone located in the corridor between the bedroom and the bathroom. The phone was placed on a student-sized desk with a shelf to hold the telephone directory, and there was a little matching chair. The furniture indicated that talking on the phone was a formal experience. We spent a lot of time in the basement, but there was no extension phone there. However, an additional ringer was installed on a basement rafter. When the phone rang, Granny had to run up the stairs to answer it. Since I was a well-spoiled child, Granny would spoon-feed me a soft-boiled egg right from the shell every morning. Oh, there's Mama June. She finally showed up. Hi, Mama June. Mama June Ramblings blog. She knew just how to crack it, and she had a special spoon that fit perfectly into the shell. I was allowed to eat my piece of toast by myself, and then my face would be aggressively wiped with a wet washcloth. Then she would tell me she had to wipe the sleepy mucus out of my eyes, but the word she used was scaramouche. Later research told me that Scaramouche was a harlequin-like character seen in Italian puppet shows. Okay, Italian puppet shows whose eyes were lined with thick black lines. Also, the word Scaramouche seems to contain the sound of the Italian word muco, which means mucus. So her invented dialect did have an etymology to it. We would watch daytime TV while Granny tatted lace with a special hook. The whole family had a collection of her handmade handkerchiefs. Her television was an old Zenith Space Command. Never heard of that. It was a black and white console set with a primitive remote control that made a clunking noise as she ran through the channels. There were only 3 channels in Waterbury at that time, so the remote control was a novelty at best. To improve the reception, there was a roof aerial that was motorized and controlled by a set-top compass. When the picture was staticky, Granny would twist the dial on the compass, and we would hear a series of clicks indicating that the aerial was moving into position. I would run outside to watch it rotate. Our favorite rerun was the Beverly Hillbillies. It would be reiterated to me that the Granny sitting next to me was real Granny, and the Granny character on the show was funny Granny, just in case I got confused. Granny and I whiled away the hours listening to Ada and Pagliacci, I don't know how to say it, on the hi-fi. Sometimes Jerry Vale would be added to the spring-loaded record changer for a change of mood. When Granny prayed the rosary, I would also pray it with my own set of beads. I would mimic Granny's accent as I repeated the prayers after her. Later in the day, Granny's good friend, Philomena, would come over to watch a world turns and drink espresso with a bit of anisette from tiny cups. Granny was functionally illiterate, but although she couldn't read stories, she could make up her own intriguing fables. I recall a story about a talking mouse who was too curious for his own good. He was preoccupied with a boiling pot and wanted to know what was in it. He pushed off the lid, and of course, he fell in and was cooked to death. Whisper to me. Yeah, we'll say that, right? Granny's stories had morals as if the Brothers Grimm had written them. I never once thought this was a sad or dark story. It was a Granny story after all. Granny married at the tender age of 13. Ooh. And raised her 3 youngest siblings upon the death of her mother, and then had her own 5 children. I believe her sad childhood gave her a bit of empathy for children. I'm not saying that Granny was lenient in any way, just that family meant everything to her, and her sweet side uncovered itself more easily when children were involved. 13, Alicia. In my middle school years, Granny's health weakened and she suffered a broken hip that never properly healed. She spent her final years in a long term care facility, but many of her treasures would become part of our home. Included among them were many houseplants, her beautiful antique sewing machine, and the record albums that were given personally to me. If I consider myself lucky, I consider myself lucky not only to have had a great grandparent until I was 18, but also to be part of a four-generation family, which at the time was uncommon. I am grateful for the experience of learning to love the simple life from a sweet ancestor who had seen so much in her years. She had plenty of love to give. Now, isn't that sweet? Was lucky enough to have a great grandparent until I was 22. So that's pretty old to have a great grandparent, right? You love that, Davita? Oh, yeah, you and your granny. And me and my granny. That's right. Let me get a little bit of my inhaler. Really, Denise? I remember my granny talking about some distant relative of ours that got married at 13. And I know my granny was very upset about it. She said the parents should never have let that girl get married at that age. And, the marriage hadn't worked out or anything. The girl was pregnant, 13 years old. And I believe it was an older man, if I remember right. And my granny thought it was terrible that the parents allowed that. I think it was mainly because the guy was older, but I guess they didn't do much about it in those days. I don't know. Let me slide over here while we do this so people don't say she's doing drugs on. But I am. This is my drug. Really easily distracted, that's it. I was lucky to have a lot of grandparents. Very lucky. Sniffy Ambien. Okay. Carolyn, where are you? Oh, man. Carolyn, Marie, Mitchell, Michelle. Where is she? Carolyn? She's not live yet, right, guys? I know she was here. So I'm asking, where is she? Mama June. Mama June Ramblings. Do you, Denise? That's very nice. We have 5 generations as well. A picture. Oh. Oh, an element. Oh, dishes? Yeah, I got a few over here I need to do. Not too many, but I know in Isaiah's room, he's got a bunch of them in there. Ticks me off. Now, wait, what's she doing here? Working while listening. Okay. And keep calling you that. Okay, I will. I'm okay. She gonna kill me. Oh, here we go, guys. None the wiser. She was busted by a broken ankle by Sarah Etkin Baker. In 1968, go-go boots, that's why I said, here we go, guys, because I loved those, mini skirts, and the mod Twiggy look were in style. Yep, I was 12, would have turned 13 during that year. Like most teenage girls of that time, I wanted to be fashionable, but I knew mother would never agree to my wearing flashy go-go boots or burying my knees, in a mini skirt. My best option was convincing her to allow me to wear makeup to achieve the much sought after Twiggy eyes. Here she is, right here, showing her makeup style. I guess that's her and her mother. She has the glasses on, Sarah, the lady doing the story. Said she perfected her eye makeup. I can't even see it in that picture, but if she says so, I believe her. I begged and pleaded, but she firmly believed that no soon to be 16-year-old girl should wear any sort of makeup. Her response always was, "No, ma'am. Only ladies of the night wear makeup." Yes, hot pants. Yes, Barb, same here. Oh, I know she is the total opposite. Janice, that's why I'm just being silly. Ladies of the night, Alicia, right? You know, from Honey Boo Boo, Nicole Griffith. Okay, where'd we go? My solution was simple and seemed harmless. Don't eat lunch at school and save my lunch money until I had enough to purchase makeup at the corner drugstore. And that's what I did. Every day for a month, I tucked my lunch money inside a secret compartment in my purse. For 30 days, I suffered from hunger pains in the afternoon and even lost weight. Mother never questioned either my hunger or my sudden weight loss. I was willing to suffer to have my own makeup. Finally, I'd saved enough money, so one day I stopped at the corner drugstore on the way home from school. I purchased some makeup and hid it in the deep crevices of my purse. Oh, okay. I know, Nicole, it's all a joke. You can call me Honey Boo Boo. When I arrived at school each morning, I went into the restroom and put on my makeup to achieve the Twiggy eyes I yearned for. Before going home each afternoon, I returned to the restroom with a swipe or two of makeup remover. My Twiggy eyes vanished. Mother was none the wiser. My plan worked beautifully until the day on my 16th birthday when I fell in gym class and broke my ankle. Mother was called and she was rushed to school to pick me up, arriving within minutes. She found me lying on a stretcher on the gym floor, my left ankle twisted to one side, broken in several places. She looked at my ankle and then turned her head sharply, giving me a hard look, the kind that can only travel from mother to daughter. "What's that on your face?" she asked, lifting a disapproving eyebrow. I knew in that instant the jig was up. We drove in silence to the doctor's office where my ankle was set in one of those cumbersome, old-fashioned plaster casts. Once we were home, I was told to hand over my ill-gotten makeup. I watched teary-eyed as she tossed it in the trash. "Never such a stunt like that with me ever again. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am." I lowered my head, sniffing back tears, not because I'd lost my makeup, but because I regretted eroding her trust in me. "I'm sorry, Mother. I made a horrible mistake. It'll never happen again." Okay, Davida. Have a good day at Dacia's tomorrow. Let's see. "I believe you," she said. "You just made an unwise choice." Before grounding me and sending me to my room, she hugged me and said, "I love you." I returned to my room, vowing to never again do anything intentionally that would disappoint her or diminish her trust in me. Just for the record, Mother grounded me for a month, a punishment I wholeheartedly deserved. Let's see, find another one in here. Oh, wait, here's Antiques Corner. Question. Oh, these are pretty too. My wife and I bought a lot of these dishes at auction when the Waybeek Dining Tea Room in Wyandotte, Michigan closed about 20 years ago. The dinner plates are marked on the back, Blue Ridge, hand painted, underglazed, Southern Potteries Incorporated, made in USA. The platter is unmarked. Please tell us how old they are and whether they have any value. Answer is Southern Potteries of Irwin, Tennessee, produced Blue Ridge dinnerware from the late 1930s until 1956. Hi, Carol Clark. Beep, beep. Let's see. As the Mark notes, the pieces were hand decorated before glazing. Most of the dinnerware was embellished with floral arrangements in vivid colors and seemingly endless variations. It's odd that Blue Ridge dinnerware would be found at a dispersal of a tea room because it is not considered restaurant ware. While the company is best known for its dinnerware, collectors put a premium on artist-signed plates from the 1940s, a line of character jugs made during the 1950s, and dishes decorated with a French peasant pattern. Blue Ridge dinner plates in floral patterns generally retail for $15 to $30 a piece. Platters are priced $35 to $50. Wow. Dandy has that info? I'm sure she does. Here's the plates, guys. Look how pretty these are. Has anybody had these at the auction? For some reason, they seem kind of familiar, but maybe just because I'm thinking of like all the napkins with fruit, on them, pears and all that, or flowers. I don't know. They are pretty though, aren't they? Okay, let's do some guessing. Average cost of these items in 1950, 50. What do you think a loaf of bread cost back then? Haven't seen them whisper at the auction? They are pretty, right, Alicia? Take a guess. A loaf of bread in 1950. No, Barb, more than 5 cents. 25 cents is too high, Carol. Oh, Barb Olson, you're right there almost. It's 14 cents. Very close. How much for a pound of bacon? 1 pound of bacon. I think this chat's is very close, Barb. 64 cents. Butter. I'll just say it because this chat is super slow. Butter was 73 cents a pound. Eggs, 60 cents a dozen. Eggs haven't really went up all that much, have they? If you think about it, really. I know here we can get eggs. Like $1.79 or something, usually. And you know what I happen to think? You know how they have the eggs? Oh, really, Barb? That's kind of high. Depends here. They will be high like that, like if you have organic or real cage free, that kind of stuff. But did you guys realize? Yeah, not organic. Okay. Remember though how in the supermarkets they used to have the small eggs? Remember, small size? But now it's medium, large, jumbo. You never see small eggs, at least here where I'm at. Does anybody have small eggs anymore? Or don't they really do that so much anymore? Chickens laying little eggs. Remember that, Joe? $15 eggs for $5. That's expensive. Well, yeah, I know, but don't you remember, Barb? Small size eggs. You could get small, medium, large, extra large, they'd call it, or jumbo. Yeah, you never see that anymore. Hi, Amy Lawler. Yeah, I just try to go, right before Carolyn, Mommy Ramblings, or right after if it's not real late when she gets off. But just whenever I feel like it. Um, I got pullet small chickens. They would have small eggs then, I guess. Miniature chickens. Let's see, butter. Did I say butter? 73 cents a pound. Milk, a half a gallon was 41 cents. 10 pounds, 10 pounds of potatoes, 46 cents. Pound of coffee, 79 cents. 5 pounds of sugar, 49 cents. A gallon of gasoline, 18 cents. A movie ticket, 53 cents. A postage stamp, 3 cents. A new home, 8,450. Quail eggs, those are tiny, yeah, tiny, tiny, tiny. But I'm talking about regular chicken eggs. They were small. You'd get a dozen of them, just like all the other eggs. Um, guess the year, guys. Yeah, potatoes are still fairly cheap. The What year did the Boston Celtics win the NBA championship? No, they weren't in a mini carton. They were a regular, a small cart. I mean, it was time here, prices. Aw, that's good. That's a good saying. One eye blind arts. Who knows? Alston. Okay, how about the Etch a Sketch toy was introduced in the U.S.? What year? These are all from the same year, okay? Chubby Checker released the song and dance hit The Twist. And then the last episode of Howdy Doody aired on television. These four things were all from the same year. What year? No wonder I don't remember ever watching Howdy Doody as a kid. My parents must not have put that on the TV when I was little. Obviously, I know what it is because I've heard of it over the years. Nope, not 65. Well, it doesn't matter if it was before your time, Alicia. A couple of you are very, very, very close. Carol and One Eye Blind Arts are super close. And Whisper to Me is super close. Howdy Doody was a puppet. No, guys, it's in the six. Barb's got it, 1960. I started saying it. Yep, it's Howdy Doody time. You're not a loser. You were super close. 1960. Oh, neat, Barb. Okay, now we're going to read Boogie Woogie Style. She Danced Her Way Through Life by Joyce Benedict. Oh, that was my grandpa's last name, Benedict. And this lady says about her mother, she was a cross between Rita Hayworth and Ingrid Bergman. Hi, Big Mama. We're driving to Disney tonight? I didn't hear that. Let's see. That'd be nice, though. as she danced, and she danced to every activity imaginable, doing dishes, cleaning, ironing, and shopping. This sounds like Davida. Oh, yeah, Eggs Benedict is really good. Davida, are you in the shower still? I don't want to read this until she's out of the shower, because I think this is like Davida. Carol. I thought I knew Carol Clark. I thought it was to do with Martha Stewart. But we'll read this one till Davida is out of the shower. Hopefully she'll let us know. I have a feeling Davida is in the shower for quite a while, primping, and she's going to bed. Yeah, that's what I thought, Alicia. Davida. But she said when she got out, she would come back if we were here. Mother M and Daddy James. Visits to them were full of freedom and adventures. Here's a picture of this little family we're going to read about right now. Looks like they are on a vacation. See the mountains there, the hills. Yeah, it says Tamra left with her mom and brothers on a family trip with her grandparents, Mother M and Daddy James, after Martha Stewart when she was in jail. That's right. Oh, wow, they are smiling, Barb. I guess that's because they were on vacation. Almost every spring break during the 1960s, my weary, overworked parents would ship me and my brothers to Spavinaw, Oklahoma, to stay with my grandparents, known affectionately to us as Mother M and Daddy James. No, they weren't a couple of hip hop artists, though their names sounded like it. As to how those nicknames came to be, rumor has it that they didn't want to be called Grandma and Grandpa because they were pretty young when they first became grandparents. Of course, since my dad was 10 years younger than his nearest sibling, my grandparents were definitely of age by the time we came along. But like the rest of my older cousins, we came to know and love them as Mother M and Daddy James. As I said earlier, nearly every year we would spend a week with my grandparents over spring break, which I'm sure gave my parents a much needed break too. We, meaning me and my two younger brothers, Steve and Rich, always looked forward to this yearly trip. My grandparents' trailer was quite posh, except for the wheels. You'd never guess they were in a mobile home. My grandmother went all out in the decorating department. When you opened the front door, it looked like a photo shoot from an upscale lifestyle magazine. Mother M made sure there were lots of shiny things all over the place to look at. I think there was even a chandelier in the dining room. Talk about classing up the joint. I fondly remember a few notable events about these visits. First off, my grandparents would basically let us go roam free after having breakfast with them. There were no requirements other than returning each evening for dinner, which, by the way, was no problem because Mother M was one of the best cooks around. Her sloppy joes and meatloaf were the stuff of legends. So off we went, just the three of us. My brothers and I were all of 9, 10, and 11 years old. Not that I'd advocate for this style of grandparenting today, but despite our youth, we felt very safe. It was a different time and environment. Plus, I was a pretty responsible kid, so I guess they trusted that we'd be okay throughout our adventures. And for the most part, they were right, with a few notable exceptions. One of our regular treks was to the creek, where we'd float gently on inner tubes. It was quite peaceful. However, to get to the creek faster, we'd take a shortcut. This meant cutting through a yard with a fence that had a hole that I was just barely, and I mean barely, able to get through. During one of our forays, I got nicked a bit while going through the tight spot in the fence. It was probably a result of too much of Mother M's delicious food, I'm guessing. By evening, my backside was aflame with a rash, which we later determined was poison ivy. Yeah, I used to say that Moo of Two worked with Martha Stewart, buying antiques and everything, and that they both ended up in jail together, in prison, and that I was there with them. I'm quite allergic to poison ivy, but never fear, Mother M came to my rescue. Her remedy? Diluted bleach. Mother M put it on my backside each evening. I remember telling her to blow on it because it stung a bit. Thankfully, she did. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but this treatment worked, though I'm not sure whether it was the bleach or Mother M's gentle touch that did the trick. That's what Joanne, the down at our cottage, the little lady I think she was 87 in November. But when I got stung by a bee or a wasp, I think it was. I don't know what it was, a couple of years ago. She went in and got bleach. She got this bottle of bleach and like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm just going to pour a little bit on there. She did. And it worked. I mean, it didn't hurt at all anymore. It was weird. Another time, my brother Rich ran into some barbed wire fencing while chasing an errant ball, leaving a nasty scar on his neck, but he survived with nary a mark today. Another of our favorite activities was jumping from various rocks. Being the only girl, I was the graceful one. Just a chemical burn. I remember falling while jumping from one rock to another. We had named the rocks based on their shapes. The rock I fell on had the nickname Pyramid Rock. I can't quit thinking of I think you get the point. Unfortunately, so did I. Ouch. On one of our outings, we found some blackberries. Of course, Mother M baked them into the most delectable cobbler ever and served it with big scoops of vanilla ice cream. No, I didn't, Carolyn. I promise I did not. No. Oh, Carolyn, I watched all 6 episodes yesterday. Well, between I watched 2 one night and then last night watched all 4. I know, but that's not me. I know Kevin said that, but no, I watched the rest of that one. It was really good. The something about Pam, I liked it. Hi, Lisa. Something. Oh, yeah. Daddy James used to dunk everything edible into his milk, particularly sweets. I hear this is a French custom, but that doesn't really excuse Daddy James. He was a second generation Irishman. Still, when his slice of cake came to the table, Daddy James automatically put it in milk. Oh my gosh, my brother does that. Being a curious little girl, I once asked if Daddy James always put cake in his drinks. With a glint in his eye, Daddy James promptly dumped his chocolate cake with vanilla frosting directly into his drink. Only this time his drink was iced tea. Even so, he began eating this newfangled creation, and he appeared to enjoy each and every bite. You might say Daddy James was ornery, and you'd be right. Unfortunately, those happy, carefree days of walking to the creek and enjoying time with my grandparents are long gone. But I still have many wonderful memories, and those are positively priceless. Davida, are you out of the tub yet? Or shower? I had one. I had a story here that reminds me of you, the way you said, the way Jeremy was saying you were growing up. Carolyn, do you have Carolyn, let me know when you're going live, okay? If we're still here, just say close her down. Close her down. I can't, I don't know why I do. I keep thinking how Carolyn said. Don't quit calling me that. You should be proud. She's a celebrity. Carolyn, Mama June is a celebrity. Nothing wrong with that. We're going to read the most expensive wedding. Her wedding bill topped them all. Here's a picture of Teeny and Syl enjoy the first bite of their expensive wedding cake in April 1960. As the sixth of seven daughters, I was the first and the only one to walk down the aisle on my daddy's arm. Dorothy and David had eloped. Betty and Jim had a very small ceremony. Georgie and Leon had gotten married down in Florida. Shirley and Doug tied the knot in California. June had called after the fact to tell us she and Russell were married on New Year's Day. I'm scared, June said. Too late to be scared now, Mother said. Every girl wants to be a June bride, so they say, but I wanted to be married when the bridal wreath was in bloom. Is Peridot still in here? She's going to be our bride next year. Her last year of freedom. We probably won't see her around too much next year. She'll be ironing his clothes, hanging them up perfectly. Make sure she has that supper on the table the second he gets home. Not a minute too late. Washing his dishes, his socks, darning his socks if he gets a little hole in them. rubbing his feet. Yep. Should be cooking all day, washing his drawers by hand. She wants to make sure they're extra clean. She get one of those washboards. No, I did not. I swear I didn't. I have not had anything. Nothing. Other than my water, no Ambien. Nothing. Okay, I'll finish this. Just fun to laugh, you know. In Fredonia, Kansas in 1960, that was mid-April. Other young women from my high school class had plans to go into social work or be secretaries. I wanted to be a mother. My oldest sister, Betty, took me to Wichita, where we found my dress fabric at Innes department store. We got yards and yards of slipper satin. I don't remember just how many yards we needed, but it cost a total of $12, which I paid for with my babysitting money. Betty sewed my dress herself. She didn't use a pattern, just a picture from the Wichita Eagle. She sewed on a treadle machine down in her unfinished basement, down those steep steps with the furnace and water heater. That sounds familiar, doesn't it, Lisa H? Getting the martinis. Yes. Starching his trousers. She'll be sitting there at the door, opening the door for him, all dressed perfectly with her heels on, one of those dresses that June Cleaver would wear. Yep, but not a Dean Martin record. Dear, would you like a drink? A drink before dinner? Wearing her apron. No, we're talking about Peridot getting married next year. Lisa. Her new life. You're back, Billy boy. Let's see. Betty sewed my dress herself. She didn't use a pattern, just a picture from the Wichita Eagle. Okay, I said this. She sewed on a treadle machine down in her unfurnished basement, blah, blah, blah. She smoked a cigarette while she sewed, and I was scared that she'd burn a hole in the fabric, but lucky she didn't. While I sewed, I pushed my nephew, little Joey, around the neighborhood in his stroller and hoped that people would think he was mine. He was so cute. Dorothy was to be my matron of honor, and she made her own dress of pink satin and organdy. The day came. Carolyn. Then came April 23rd, 1960. I walked down the aisle holding on to Daddy's arm. Betty's husband, Jim, took our pictures as his gift. And a precious gift it was. Jim was a photographer with Stars and Stripes during World War II and had landed with the troops on D-Day. I swear I'm not drinking or Ambien. I just wanted to laugh and just being silly. And you can do that. Come on, Caroline. Mama June ramblings. What was one of her sayings? I can't remember. Mo butter, mo better. I'm hiding out. Walk a straight line. I don't think I ever can, but I promise I'm not drinking. No Ambien. Nothing. Okay. All right. Gosh. It's a cute name. It's my mother-in-law's name, June. Grandma June. Count to 10 backwards. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 25, 30. Yeah, we haven't seen Billy Boy. I haven't been live either, Carolyn, so don't go being mad at Billy Boy. That's a sleeping pill, Billy Boy, that I do sometimes take a tiny, tiny little bit of, but I haven't. I have not. Not today. Not tonight. No way. No how. Let's see. We're almost done with this. During World War II and had landed with the troops on D-Day. He'd been on the front lines to cover the liberation of Paris. And there he was taking our wedding pictures. Oh, he's been cheating on you. Yeah, I know. He hasn't been there, has he? He's a hermit, he says. Carolyn's been calling you, Billy Boy. Tiny, tiny little piece. Tiny, tiny, tiny. For real. Tiny little piece. My fiance, Syl, and I chose to have a simple reception at the church with cake and punch. After buying my dress fabric, I didn't have enough money left for the cake. It was $10. Daddy paid that, and he said, "That's the most expensive wedding I've ever seen." Look, that's Xanax. I've taken that before. I used to have a prescription for that over the years. There they go. See, that's the couple. No, we never no, she was just saying, "Billy Boy Blue, where are you?" Carolyn was just calling your name. Oh, Carolyn, here's where you grew up, Long Island City, New York, right? TV with Opa. No, nothing? That's too bad, Denise. Let me get a little bit more water. Carolyn, you're not going live yet, right? You take that too, Tracy B. You work out and kill your body, then bathe. Yes. Be so nice if I would start doing that. I'm just fine. Turn the page. How are you? Hope everyone is doing well. Oh, Carolyn, look at this water. Sparkling water. I get it in the Mexican aisle at our grocery store. 79 cents. Remember how I said I would bring you that Michigan cottage cheese? Did you want to try that Green River uh, soda, as you call it, soft drink? I almost bought that because remember I was going to send it in the mail, but they don't let you send liquids. No, it's just plain sparkling water, 79 cents for 1.5 liters. It's not bad, you know. That's a pretty good price. Tastes like, yeah, I don't know what Eno is. It's just water, bubbly water. Bubbly water. TV with Opa. He and Opa made an unbeatable team. Powder that can mix with water. Upset stomach. It was popular in the 70s. Oh, like Alka Seltzer, sort of, or Bromo Seltzer, or something like that. Bromide, or whatever they called that. That pretty blue bottle. Oh, it just tastes like water, but bubbly. This is by Keith Benninger. Ooh, that would be good. Cucumber and fresh mint. I like it just plain more than any flavored, though, for real. A wise comedian once asked, "Why do grandchildren and grandparents get along so well?" He answered his own question, because they have a common enemy. Thank you, Billy Boy Blue. That's so sweet. You didn't have to do that, but that's very sweet of you. Now Carolyn will yell at me and say, "Scooter, send that to me." No, she won't. I'm kidding, people. For anybody that watches this and says, "See, I'm just kidding, guys." Sarcasm. Nothing could be truer. One time my mother punished me for something I did. Whatever she said I did, I did. I just don't remember what the crime was, but I do remember the punishment. She said I couldn't have Coca-Cola for a week. So every night during that week of punishment, my grandfather was my co-conspirator. He took me downtown and bought me a soda with the admonition not to let my mother know. Following her divorce, my mother and I lived for a while with her parents, John and Anna Lemke, Opa and Nana to me. In the evening, Opa and I used to sit in his living room, he in his recliner, and me on the couch watching television together. Together, we enjoyed the comedies of the day, Amos and Andy, The Life of Riley, and The Little Rascals. Together, we howled watching Laurel and Hardy movies, especially the one where they move a piano up a giant flight of steps. You would have laughed too if you, like Opa, had owned a moving and storage company and frequently moved pianos for customers. We couldn't stop laughing while watching television together. My mother remarried in March 1955. Mom and Dad rented an apartment on the second floor of a house in my hometown, Westbury, New York. They furnished the apartment with a mixture of hand-me-downs, My parents didn't have extra money for a television set, at least not at the start of their new life together. After all, my father only earned $65 a week as a delivery man for Fisher's Bread, a large commercial bread company in Long Island City, New York. As a 5-year old, I was now at the center of a terrible predicament. I was in a new living arrangement, and the three of us lived together in a home without a television. How was I going to watch television with Opa? He didn't live in this apartment, he had his own house. And even though both neighborhoods were safe, Nana and Opa lived too far away for a 5-year old to walk to their house, especially at night. More important than television itself, I didn't have Opa to watch television and laugh with. Life was certainly a challenge for a 5-year old without a television. Nana and Opa were known to stop by unannounced to visit with family and friends. One evening, Opa pulled his pickup truck into the driveway and called up the stairs to my parents. He said he had a wedding present for them. He then carried a brand new television set up the stairs and placed it on its stand in the living room for my parents to enjoy. To this day, I don't think it took my parents too long to realize the wedding present wasn't for them. Oh, how sweet, isn't it? Grandpa got it for. Ooh, look at these. These recipes always make me so hungry. Like I need an excuse to get hungry. Make ahead meals. Stock up for busy times with these freezer favorites. This is a short little article written by Georgia Cohart. Cohart. When a crib appeared in my bedroom, it signaled the end of my 6-year reign as baby of the family. To help prepare me for the event, Mom did not hand me stories about storks or cabbage patches. Instead, she shared her pamphlets from the doctor's office. My takeaway was that it was especially important to remember your prenatal vitamins and wear low-heeled shoes. As the due date drew near, Mom and I created a baby-themed construction paper sign. When it was time for Dad to take her to the hospital, if I was at school or asleep, she would attach the notice to the kitchen curtains with a diaper pin. One morning, the sign was up, and a couple days later, Mom returned with a baby sister, our family's fourth girl. Decades later, my husband and I were putting up a crib in preparation for a new baby. I made a little quilt and decorated the sunny nursery in rainbow colors. The changing table was readied, and tiny sleepers hung neatly in the closet. I stocked the freezer with make-ahead meals and remembered to take my prenatal vitamins. Peridot, are you listening? This'll be you. Hello, Jen Lucas. Over the years, we welcomed 3 daughters, and before we knew it, they were married and starting families of their own. Now we are enjoying life with 2 little grandsons. The days after a baby's arrival are exhilarating and exhausting, and quick meals are a must. As our first grandson's birth approached, our middle daughter and I spent a day prepping entrees. We chose hearty recipes that were not too spicy. Here are a few tips to consider. All dense foods to cool in the refrigerator. Allow dense foods to cool in the refrigerator before freezing. When putting food directly into the oven from the freezer, increase cooking time. Foil baking pans with plastic lids stack well after they are frozen. Tightly cover each pan with foil wrap and attach the lid labeled with date and contents. Most recipes stay fresh in the freezer for 3 to 6 months. Even if a baby is not on the way, spring is a busy season for families. When time is short, oven ready meals help avoid the fast food trap. Heavier foods, heavier foods or dense foods. Ooh, look, guys, lasagna rolls, make ahead breakfast burritos, mini meatballs. Ooh, mom's chicken enchilada casserole. Num, num, num. Look at that. Lasagna rolls. Mamma mia. And the mini meatball. And the chicken enchiladas. See if Dave would like these chicken what they have in them. Because I had made these before he and I were married, and I've never made them since. Onion, of course, I could use that. Leave out the red and green bell peppers. Olive oil, cooked chicken breast. Oh, sour cream. Cup of sour cream, dang it. Could I do it without it? Chili powder, garlic powder, salt, red enchilada sauce. Red enchilada sauce. I wonder if I could just do, that's pretty much like tomato sauce. I'd probably have to leave that out too. And then shredded Monterey Jack or unseasoned Mexican cheese, and then flour tortillas. So I'd have to do just with the onion, olive oil, the chicken, chili powder, garlic powder, cheese, and tortillas. Now that sounds so dry. That would be horrible. Right, Denise? Yes, that would be terrible. He just, no, couldn't do it that way. He loves breakfast burritos from McDonald's. Lasagna rolls, those look good. I don't think he would eat the ricotta cheese though, and I so want to make that, and I don't think he would eat it. I'd have to leave out the ricotta and the diced tomatoes. So I would make it with lasagna, the ground beef, which he wants tons of meat. I could use the pasta sauce, beef broth, skip the ricotta, use the mozzarella and the Parmesan, the egg. I'd have to leave out the baby spinach. And I could use the basil and parsley, a little bit of it. I could use the salt, of course, and pepper. Oh gosh, he's horribly picky. It's terrible. That's why I don't have. Sounds like eating a shoe. What I buy wasn't like that around my house. When the cat was giving birth, I was sent to the roller rink. He would eat the meatballs. It calls for Worcestershire sauce in it, 2 tablespoons. I've never put that in there, but I think he would like that. Maybe. I don't know, though. Just make, I know, that's why, Denise. That's why, that's how it usually goes. I make something simple. Very, very, very simple. Plain chicken, yep. He'd eat bacon wrapped stuffed chicken breast, probably. It just depends. He'd want to know what all is in that stuffing. What's it stuffed with? Well, what's in that? Peanut butter and jelly. Well, let's see. Okay, flashback fun. The Easy Bake Oven for children was introduced by Kenner in 1963. Incandescent light bulbs were used as a heat source, and the oven came with child-sized pans, a mixing bowl, and utensils, plus small packets of cake mix. We all loved our Easy Bake Oven, didn't we? Well, I guess we'll go ahead and end this right now. I'm sure Carolyn will be coming on soon. I won't say. I'll just say I'm sure Mama Carolyn will come on soon. So close down and wait for her, guys. Thank you, Lisa H., my boo. You never got one, blind darts? Aw. Did boys want that? I imagine some boys did, right? Boys like to eat cake and cookies and good night. Turn the page, Alicia. Sour milk and cookies. There you are. Okay, see y'all on the other side over at Carolyn's. Bye, guys. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Bye. Bye, y'all.